Peppa Pig and the ice cream that wouldn't melt. On a warm, sunny day, Peppa holds a big ice cream. Strangely, the ice cream doesn't melt. Even under the bright sun, it stays the same. George touches it and finds it still cold. Finally, a small drop begins to melt. Even the strangest things only last for a little while.
The egg and spoon race. Today, Peppa and George are joining a very special race. The egg and spoon race. The little ones must keep their eggs perfectly balanced.
The race has started. Peppa is in the lead. She is walking very fast and skillfully. Go on, Peppa and George.
Oh! A beautiful butterfly just flew by. Oh no! Peppa got a surprise, and the egg has fallen onto the grass. What a pity. Congratulations, George! He made it to the finish line safely. Anyway, it was such a fun race, wasn't it?
Hey! Hey!
Hey!
Peppa and the Funny Clouds. On a gentle afternoon, Peppa and George lie on the soft grass, gazing up at the wide blue sky. A long cloud drifts by, curling into the shape of a dinosaur. Its funny form makes the afternoon more exciting.
Whoa!
Right after, a puffy cloud grows big like a multi-layered cake, glowing softly under the sunlight. Next, a cloud stretches into an elephant shape, as if blowing a cool breeze that makes the leaves tremble. More clouds appear, forming hearts, trains, whales, and even a cloud that looks just like Peppa, turning the sky into a playful painting. As the sun begins to set, the clouds shift to warm shades of pink and orange, ending a magical and imaginative afternoon. Teddy Bear Rescue. George tossed Teddy up to play, but oh no! Teddy didn't come back down. Instead, he got stuck high up on a tree branch. Peppa jumped as high as she could. George stretched his arms as far as he could, but Teddy stayed firmly on the branch. Just as the two were about to give up, a sudden gust of wind blew in. Teddy fell from the branch and landed neatly in George's arms. George hugged Teddy as if reuniting with a long-lost friend, while Peppa giggled under the tree. And so, the Teddy rescue mission ended, not thanks to any plan, but thanks to the wind itself. Peppa Pig and the Rainy Day Adventure. Peppa and George put on raincoats, ready to explore the rainy day with their parents. Peppa jumped into a puddle. George followed. Daddy Pig joined in happily. Mummy Pig held an umbrella, guiding Peppa and George, raindrops sparkling on the leaves. Peppa spotted a frog hopping in a puddle. George cheered. Peppa clapped her hands. The family jumped into bigger puddles, laughing, water splashing everywhere. The family went home, wet but happy. Daddy Pig promised to make delicious hot chocolate. The Flying Hat Adventure. It's a beautiful sunny day. Peppa is showing off her new hat, and everyone agrees it looks absolutely lovely. Oh no, Peppa's hat has flown away. But don't worry, her friends are ready for a fun hat hunting adventure. The hat seems to be playing hide and seek. It flies from the pond to the tree, and even lands on a very surprised duck. It looks like the hat doesn't want to stay still. Wherever it goes, it spreads laughter and fun. After its windy adventure, the hat is home again. And Peppa realizes the best part of the day wasn't the hat. It was sharing the fun with her friends. Hot Air Balloon Festival. It's the Hot Air Balloon Festival today. Peppa and George are at the field. The huge balloons are being inflated.
Wow!
Look! The first balloon is ready. It goes up high, higher and higher. Peppa cheers happily. How wonderful! So many balloons are going up. Blue, pink, polka dots. It's like a garden of flowers in the sky. Peppa and George wave goodbye to the adventures in the sky. What a colorful festival!
Peppa Pig and the hat that wouldn't stay still. Peppa loves her new hat. It looks perfect and fits just right. But the hat doesn't seem to agree with its position. Peppa carefully fixes the hat, and it immediately chooses a new spot. George finds this very funny. The hat looks like it's playing a game. Finally, the hat decides to rest for a while on the grass. Peppa learns that sometimes being comfortable is better than wearing a perfect hat.
Oh!
Oh. Blah, blah, blah.
Peppa and George are inside the house. Peppa holds a sheet of blue paper. Carefully, she folds the paper into the shape of an airplane. Beep, beep, beep. Peppa makes the sound of a plane taking off. Peppa gives the paper plane to George. George smiles widely. He holds the plane and runs around the room. Whoosh, whoosh. George makes the sound of the plane flying in the air. Peppa claps her hands to cheer on her little brother. George runs near the window. He throws the plane. The plane flies out the window, loops around once, and lands on the green grass in the garden. Peppa and George watch in surprise. Peppa and George run outside into the garden together. They look everywhere for the paper plane. Hooray! Hooray! George shouts when he finds the plane on the lawn. They both pick it up and run back inside the house, laughing happily.
Peppa and searching for shade. It's a very hot day. The pig family really needs a cool place to rest. Look! There's a wonderful patch of shade under the tree. Daddy Pig has found the perfect spot to hide from the sun. Oh, how strange! Every time Daddy Pig tries to sit down, the shade moves away. Daddy Pig has to keep chasing the tree's shadow. Finally, everyone found a cool spot. What an exciting chase for the shade! Peppa Pig and the shadow that wouldn't listen. It's a sunny afternoon until Peppa and George notice that there's an extra shadow on the ground. This shadow doesn't follow what Peppa does. It clearly enjoys doing the opposite. Every time they try to control it, the shadow finds a new way to not cooperate. So Peppa and George stop trying to understand it and start playing with it instead. And then, as a cloud passes by, the shadow disappears as if it was never there. Peppa and George learn that some things don't need to be understood. They just need to be played with. Peppa Pig and the Very Low Cloud. One morning, Peppa and George notice a cloud floating lower than usual. The cloud drifts across the yard as if taking a walk. Peppa wonders if she can touch the cloud. The cloud keeps changing shape with the gentle wind. A small cloud is enough to cool the whole garden. Soon, the cloud floats back up, leaving a peaceful morning behind.
to a restaurant. Today is a very fun day. Peppa, George, and Daddy Pig are going out. At the cinema, Gerald Giraffe has just finished watching a film and meets Peppa's family.
Hi!
George is starting to feel hungry. Gerald Giraffe has an idea. They will all go to the restaurant. Peppa and the shared raincoat. It's a rainy day. Peppa wears her raincoat, but George forgot his. George looks cold and sad. Peppa worries for her little brother. Peppa smiles and pulls George under her coat. They giggle together. Mummy Pig brings another coat. You're so sweet when you share. After the rain, the family watches a rainbow. Peppa says, sharing makes everything warmer, even rainy days. Pepper and the Reading Festival. Today is a very happy day. Outside in the yard, Peppa and George are playing together and singing joyfully. Inside the house, Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig are carrying a big pile of books and placing them neatly in the living room. Mummy Pig calls the two children inside and smiles as she says, reading books helps you learn new things and become more creative. Peppa and George both nod in agreement. George sits nicely next to Mummy Pig, listening happily as she reads him a story. Meanwhile, Peppa chooses her favorite book and reads quietly by herself. Hey! Today, Peppa and George have found an old car tire in the garden. It's round and shiny black, looking rather mysterious. Peppa has an idea. Let's roll it. So, the two begin pushing the tire around the garden, giggling as it wobbles along. But, oh dear, the tire suddenly rolls away, right down the little slope outside. Peppa and George gasp and chase after it. Their tiny feet scramble as fast as they can, dust flying everywhere, while the tire rolls faster and faster and faster. The tire bounces straight into the vegetable patch. Thump! A carrot shoots into the air. Whoosh! Lettuces tumble all over the ground. Daddy Pig, who was watering the plants, looks up in surprise. He rubs his eyes in disbelief. A naughty tire is wrecking the whole garden. Daddy Pig hurries over, ready to scold them. But when he sees Peppa and George laughing loudly in the puddle, he can't help but laugh too. Mud sprays everywhere. Their clothes are filthy. But everyone is happy. For Peppa and George, even an old car tire can turn into the best game ever. The pig family arrives at a farm to try being farmers for the day. We're going to be farmers and take care of the plants, Peppa says. Everyone gets ready to start working on the farm. Peppa and George start watering the plants. I'm going to water the plants so they can grow big and strong, Peppa says. George helps his sister by watering around the garden. Peppa and George begin to pick ripe tomatoes from the garden. Look, our tomatoes are ready, Peppa says. The pig family continues to pick vegetables and put them in their baskets. After a hard day's work on the farm, the pig family sits down to enjoy the vegetables they just picked. We can eat what we've grown with our own hands, Daddy Pig says. Everyone enjoys a meal and feels proud of their hard work. After a hard day's work, the pig family sits down to rest. Being a farmer is fun, but I like playing more, Peppa says. Daddy Pig laughs and says, helping on the farm is good, but playing is fun too. The whole family laughs and feels proud of their work. Peppa and George are playing with a balloon in the park. A strong gust of wind blows the balloon up into the sky. Peppa looks up at the balloon, startled. George points at the sky, following the balloon with his eyes. Peppa and Daddy Pig start running after the balloon, trying to keep up as it flies higher. Peppa and Daddy Pig run across the grassy field, their legs moving quickly. George runs behind, watching the balloon and smiling. Peppa and Daddy Pig spot the balloon caught in a tree branch. Peppa points at the tree, excited to see the balloon. Daddy Pig uses a long stick to try and reach the balloon from the tree. Peppa hops around happily. Peppa and Daddy Pig are happy to have rescued the balloon. Peppa holds the balloon in her hands, smiling. George jumps up joyfully. The pig family sits down together and continues to play in the park. One morning, George wakes up and looks around his room. Toys are scattered all over the floor. Books lie in a messy pile on the desk. And the blanket and pillows are all over the bed. George puts, he hands on, he hips, sighs, but decides he will turn a messy room into a tidy, cozy place. George starts picking up each toy, sorting them by shape and color, then placing them into different boxes. One for cars, one for stuffed animals, and one for building blocks. Each time George closes a lid, George stacks the boxes neatly against the wall. George folds his blanket carefully, smoothing out each corner. While folding, a big teddy bear hidden inside the blanket falls to the floor. George giggles, hugs the bear for a moment, then places it neatly at the head of the bed, right next to her favorite pillow. After dusting the desk and arranging the books in order, George steps back to look at the whole room. Everything is clean and tidy, the floor is clear and shiny. George lies down on the bed, opens a picture book, and enjoys the cozy feeling of George's freshly cleaned room. Peppa Pig and the opening box. Peppa and George are playing in the living room. In the corner of the room, there is a small cardboard box with its lid slightly open. Daddy Pig is sitting on a chair, and Mummy Pig is sitting beside him. Peppa bends down to look inside the box. George is also curious and leans closer to the box. The box shakes slightly, making both of them jump in surprise. Peppa opens the box completely. Daddy Pig sees it from a distance, so he walks over and leans in to look inside. Inside are a few toys. Peppa holds the toy, and George jumps up excitedly. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig smile. The empty box lies still on the floor. Little Pig and his sister decided to explore a forest that was said to have many strange things. But no one expected that. Today would be a special adventure. As they went deeper into the forest, they came across a giant tree, standing tall in the middle of the road. But not any ordinary tree. Suddenly, a mysterious warning rang out from within the tree. Be careful, darkness is approaching, and things will never be the same again. Suddenly, the atmosphere changed. The shadows of the trees began to move, but it wasn't the wind. Little Pig and Sister Pig ran faster, but the darkness seemed to be unyielding. And in the end, nothing strange happened. Everything was in the sisters' imagination.
Peppa Pig and the Noisy Bucket. Peppa notices an ordinary bucket that doesn't seem ordinary today. One gentle tap, and the bucket replies with a fun sound. George taps harder, and the bucket sounds even more excited. Soon the bucket turns into an unexpected musical instrument. After the performance, the bucket needs a little rest. Peppa and George learn that sometimes fun comes from the simplest things.
A colorful rainy day. It is raining outside. Peppa and George cannot play in the garden. Peppa goes into the house. Daddy Pig is watching TV. Oh, Daddy Pig has an idea. Huh? He brings out a box of crayons. Peppa wants to draw, and George chooses yellow for Peppa. And Peppa draws her favorite yellow dinosaur.
Aha!
the pig family arrives at a farm to try being farmers for the day. "We're going to be farmers and take care of the plants," Peppa says. Everyone gets ready to start working on the farm. Peppa and George start watering the plants. "I'm going to water the plants so they can grow big and strong," Peppa says. George helps his sister by watering around the garden. Peppa and George begin to pick ripe tomatoes from the garden. "Look, our tomatoes are ready," Peppa says. The pig family continues to pick vegetables and put them in their baskets. After a hard day's work on the farm, the pig family sits down to enjoy the vegetables they just picked. "We can eat what we've grown with our own hands," Daddy Pig says. Everyone enjoys a meal and feels proud of their hard work. After a hard day's work, the pig family sits down to rest. "Being a farmer is fun, but I like playing more," Peppa says. Daddy Pig laughs and says, "Helping on the farm is good, but playing is fun too." The whole family laughs and feels proud of their work. One beautiful morning, the sun was soft and the breeze was cool. In the living room, the two sisters were chatting happily. "Let's go outside and play," they said together. They ran quickly into the pine forest near their home. Tall green trees swayed gently in the wind, making a soft rustling sound. Suddenly, a magical gust of wind swept past them. Whoosh! The wind gently lifted the two sisters up into the sky. They flew over the green pine forest and then glided past their own house below. Laughing joyfully, they stretched out their arms and happily enjoyed the cool, refreshing breeze around them. It was a truly magical and joyful flight.
Whoa!
The Dinosaur Tunnel. Today is a beautiful day.
Huh?
Peppa and George discover a mysterious little door underground. Where could it lead? Without hesitation, they step inside. The glowing tunnel spins around them, leading to a whole new world. And what a surprise! Beyond the tunnel is a legendary dinosaur world, full of life, color, and excitement. Peppa and George join the fun. They ride dinosaurs, soar over rainbows, and laugh all the way through their adventure. As the sun begins to set, the tunnel disappears. But the secret of the dinosaur tunnel will always be their magical memory.
Today, Bluey looks a little sad, slowly walking around the backyard. Just then, she spots Bingo. Bingo runs out of the house and starts bouncing happily by the door. Inside the house, Dad is lying back and humming while looking at the ceiling. She tells Dad, "Come on, let's go play with the kids." Bluey and Bingo get super excited when they see them. Mom starts dancing with Bluey and Bingo.
Oh!
Dad runs back inside and brings out a speaker to make the dancing even more fun.
Aha!
Hey!
Wow!
Huh! Oh! Come on, let's go!
Peppa and the Fun Running Race. On a beautiful sunny day, the village held an exciting running race. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig were happily chatting in the garden when Sister Peppa and Brother Peppa ran by. Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig smiled and decided to go along to cheer for them. Officer Peppa raised the flag and signaled the start. All the little friends dashed forward at full speed. Sister Peppa tried her very best and finally crossed the finish line first. Everyone clapped and cheered loudly, filling the place with joy and laughter. Peppa and George were playing in the garden when they spotted a giant toy car rolling toward them. George quickly climbed into the toy car, took the wheel, and laughed happily as the car started rolling. Peppa tried to chase the car, but it was too fast, making her run after it. Mummy Pig saw them and reminded, "Be careful! Don't let the car roll too far!" Peppa and George took turns driving the toy car, going over small tree stumps in the garden. Finally, the toy car stopped, and Peppa and George got out, laughing joyfully from their fun adventure. Peppa and George stood on the grass, seeing a big banner. Funny dance contest. George did a flip in the air, making Peppa laugh happily. Peppa tried dancing to the music, but slipped on a leaf, both of them laughing uncontrollably. Daddy and Mummy Pig stood beside them, clapping and cheering them on. Finally, Peppa and George received their medals, and the whole family hugged and laughed together. Peppa Pig and the Mysterious Sweet Box. Peppa and George spot a mysterious sweet box on the living room sofa. When Peppa opens it, the sweet smell spreads through the room. George grabs a treat and giggles happily, making Peppa laugh too. They try each sweet with sparkling excitement. Daddy Pig walks in, and Peppa and George happily run to share the tasty treats with him. Peppa and George were amazed when a giant ball rolled toward them. The ball was too big, but Peppa didn't give up and decided to push it. The rolling ball created funny circles, making Peppa laugh non-stop. George joined in, helping Peppa to control the giant ball together. When the ball hit a puddle, huge splashes sprayed everywhere, making them laugh even more. Finally, they realized that sometimes the greatest fun is just a giant ball and your own laughter. Peppa and George's walk today suddenly turned into an adventure with a giant balloon. The balloon flies easily, but does Peppa have enough strength to hold on? Don't worry, Peppa. George won't let you fly too far. Or at least, that's what she hopes. Go! And then, the balloon takes Peppa higher. No way to come back. Peppa realizes that a flight isn't always smooth, but at least it's fun. Finally, the balloon gently lands Peppa back on the ground, and George is ready for his next race with the balloon. Peppa and George decided to join a race. But not an ordinary race, it's a trash truck race. Trash trucks may not be fast, but Peppa and George can do anything when they're determined. The race gets more exciting as both trucks speed through obstacles. However, no race is without surprises, and Peppa couldn't escape this trap hole. No one wins when there are too many obstacles, but at least both had fun. The race ends, but Peppa and George realize that having fun is more important than anything else. Peppa and George couldn't believe their eyes when they saw a piece of bread flying through the air. They decided to chase the flying bread, but it was fast and looped around like a plane. It seemed like this piece of bread wasn't easy to catch, and it took a quick break on a tree branch. Surely this bread knew how to play tag, and Peppa seemed to be its favorite target. After an adventure, Peppa finally caught the flying bread and smiled happily. Finally, Peppa and George realized that sometimes the best adventures are when you can enjoy the fruits of your efforts. Peppa and George couldn't believe their eyes. A giant truck was parked right in their yard. This truck is not only big but full of strange things inside. Peppa is curious and wants to try them all. George tried to push the giant wheel, but he might need a bit more strength to move it. No worries. Peppa decides to drive the giant truck, but it seems it's not as easy as she thought. Sometimes all it takes is a little push on the gas pedal to start an adventure, even if it's a bit out of control. Finally, the truck stops, and Peppa and George realize one thing. Sometimes, the fun starts with the most random things. Never thought that an afternoon walk would turn into a disco under the streetlight. This streetlight is like a DJ, and soon enough Peppa became the main dancer of the party. This might be the new dance craze in the park. And maybe only Peppa can do it like that. After non-stop dancing, Peppa decided to stop. But the street light didn't know what giving up meant. In the end, Peppa realized one thing. The street light in the park never stops partying. But Peppa could finally go home. The fun ended, but Peppa would never forget those offbeat dance moves in the park. Peppa and George are ready for the dance contest. But there's a secret. Not everyone knows how to dance like Peppa. Never doubt Peppa's creativity, even if it's a super spin move instead of a dance step. George isn't any less. It's just that he hasn't fully developed his shoestring dance potential yet. Hello. Sometimes a graceful dance ends with a free fall, at least for the bunny. Whether winning or losing, what matters is everyone can laugh and dance happily. With Peppa, every day is a day to dance and laugh out loud. Peppa and George were watching the clouds, and today there was a special cloud, a cloud bus. Who needs a real bus when with just imagination, Peppa and George are already flying high? The clouds looked like strange creatures, and Peppa couldn't stop imagining they were dancing with her. Not just a cloud bus, now there's a cloud elephant greeting them. The ride through these clouds was magical, and they met even more cloud friends. Although the journey was just in their imagination, Peppa and George had an unforgettable adventure. Start the day with a battle. Against the office door, that always says, "Card not recognized," when you're in a rush. Welcome to the extreme game called Swipe In on Time, or you're fired. Barely sat down and already attacked by the ancient enemy. A system update during rush hour. In Office Land, a light desk tap could be mistaken for a full-blown rebellion. Each minute crawls like a century, yet vacations are always buried under 200 emails. End your workday with the ancient art of disappearing, right before the final meeting. The Shimmering Lantern Night. Tonight is a very special evening. Peppa and her friends are getting ready to carry their lanterns. Every lantern has a different shape. Some are fish, some are stars, and some are round and shiny. The twinkling lanterns create a sparkling and magical scene. Huh? Oh, Peppa's lantern makes such funny and playful shadows. The little ones giggle as they parade with their lanterns. The air is warm and full of joy. The lantern night ends with laughter and happy memories. A colorful evening for Peppa and her friends.
hours later.
Peppa and the shared lunch. Today, there's a new friend, Wendy Wolf, who forgot her lunch.
Hey!
Peppa looks at her 2 sandwiches and thinks of Wendy sitting quietly. Let's share, says Peppa. Wendy smiles happily. Everyone shares their food. The playground fills with laughter. Madame Gazelle smiles. Sharing warms both the heart and the tummy.
Peppa Pig and the super fast slide. Today, a tall and long slide appears right in front of the house. Peppa climbs up quickly, curious about the speed. The slide sends Peppa down faster than she expected. George decides to try the speed too. Each ride fills the yard with laughter. Sometimes fun doesn't need to be far away. It can be right at your doorstep.